2 games, 48 hours, one story that split the hype wide open. Midweek, Paige looked untouchable, gliding into space, hitting everything, making it all feel effortless. Headlines did what headlines do. The coronation felt inevitable. And then Seattle happened. No red carpet, no soft catches, just bodies at every touch, and a scoreboard that didn't blink. This isn't a hit piece or a love letter, it's a reality check. There's prospect good, and then there's pro proof under pressure. The difference shows up when the court gets crowded, the reads get tight, and the first move gets taken away. That's where reputations either grow roots or slide. So here's the question we're really asking. When defenses bring the kind of heat Caitlin Clark has seen all year, what does Paige look like? Not on the best night of her life, but on the loudest, most uncomfortable one. Because that's the test that sticks. And if you care about the future of the league, this week told you everything you needed to know about hype, about adjustments, and about the gap between pretty numbers and playoff basketball. Let's get into it. Start with the rush. Paige catches, rips, rises, the net barely moves. Possession after possession, it feels like the floor is tilting her way. She's in rhythm, living at her favorite spots, and every jumper lands like a mic drop. It's the kind of night that turns cautious optimism into full-on prophecy. She's here already. You don't have to squint to see it. It's right there in front of you. 48 hours later, the picture is unrecognizable. Seattle doesn't guard the idea of Paige. They take away the habits. First bump at the catch, a second body at the nail. Late hand in the window she usually threads. The looks that felt open on Wednesday shrink into slivers on Friday. Dribbles that once set up that silky pull-up now lead straight into traffic, and the stat line stops telling a story you want to read. This is the part of the league that almost never shows up in hype clips. How fast defenses learn. You torch a coverage on Tuesday, and by Friday it's gone. Film travels, scouts steal, coaches redraw the map and dare you to find a new route. Paige's old route, free throw line down, smooth footwork into balanced mid-range, suddenly has toll booths every 10 feet. She doesn't get to decide the terms anymore. The defense does, and the pace of the game changes with it. Not the clock, her pace. When she hesitates, help arrives. When she tries to thread the pocket, the weak side wing is already crashing the lane. When she pulls it out to reset, the on ball is in her jersey. One quiet possession becomes two. Two become a quarter. By the time you look up, the thing that felt effortless suddenly requires perfect timing and perfect reads, and nobody has those on demand. That whiplash, unstoppable to uncomfortable, isn't a contradiction. It's the pro curve. The best players don't stay great because their first move works forever. They stay great because the counter lands before the trap closes. The league asked Paige a question in Seattle. What's your next answer? On that night, she didn't have one ready. That doesn't erase the high, but it rewrites the scouting report. And from now on, every team will open to that page. If you're wondering why this sequence matters more than a single box score, it's because it exposes the pressure test that decides everything. It's not about whether you can feast on rhythm, it's whether you can manufacture it when the rhythm disappears. That's the difference between headline heat and playoff gravity. But that wasn't the whole story, because the defense Seattle borrowed is the same storm one player has lived inside for months. And understanding that what it looks like, how it hits, and why it breaks most guards is where this comparison actually gets real. Some games don't build, they arrive. From the opening touch in Los Angeles, Paige felt like a cheat code. Catch, jab, clean rise, net whisper. No wasted dribbles, no wobble, just balance and touch that made pro defenders look like cones. The mid-range especially was museum quality. One stride into space, square shoulders, soft release, and the ball fell like it was late for an appointment. Efficiency wasn't a stat that night, it was an aura. 17 makes on 21 looks is the kind of number you say out loud to make sure you didn't read it wrong. The threes were pure, the free throws automatic, and every possession felt inevitable. Not forced, not frantic, inevitable. It's the rare rhythm where the floor feels bigger for one player and smaller for everyone trying to contain her. What made it hit even harder was the variety. Elbow pull-ups, baseline fades after a quick shoulder fake, a patient probe into a little 2-foot floater before the help could load. She showed the full library, and none of it looked like a heat check. It looked like she was borrowing time, taking shots on her schedule, not the defense's. That's the performance that feeds prophecy. Clips sprint across timelines, analysts talk about polish, and suddenly the conversation jumps a few chapters. Not can she hang, but how soon does she own the matchup every night? You don't need to beg for attention with a game like that. It chases you down. And yet, the scoreboard had its own plot twist. Even with the masterpiece, it came down to the last breath, and the other team exhaled first. That's the quiet lesson buried under the fireworks. The league keeps receipts. Put a coverage to sleep on Wednesday, and you've just sent every opponent the tape they need for Friday. The coronation feeling was real because the skill was real. The footwork, the pace control, the economy, it all translates. But great film is also a scouting report against you. And a night that clean invites a specific response. Crowd her early, change the angle, bring a second body before the pull-up can bloom, which is exactly what happened next. And what Seattle did with that blueprint is why the conversation flipped from celebration to interrogation in 48 hours. Seattle didn't guard Paige, they erased her options. From the first touch, the picture changed. A shoulder at the catch, a forearm at the lane line, and a second set of eyes parked at the nail like a toll booth. Every favorite route suddenly cost extra. They crowded her before the ball arrived. Top lock on the first cut so the easy entry vanished. When she did catch, the on-ball defender sat in her chest while help hovered 2 steps away, close enough to bother the rise, quick enough to recover on the pass. The mid-range window she loves shrunk to a postcard. Ball screens were a maze. One trip it was a hard show that shoved her east-west. Next trip a switch that pinned her drive at the elbow. Then a peel switch just when she thought the lane had opened. The rhythm never repeated. And when she tried to slow things down, one dribble, breathe, read the weak side stunt arrived on cue, fingers in the passing lane, timing stolen. Notice the timing tax. When she paused, the second defender met her. When she attacked, the low man slid early. When she looked for the pocket, hands flashed in the gap. Make a clean read once and it's gone. The next play, that's how you turn a scorer into a guesser. Rebounds, boxed out by committee. Drives, funneled to bodies, not space. Even resets felt heavy, no distance to exhale, no angle to reignite the pull-up. And the box score told on the pressure. The shot count stayed low, the assists never landed, and the game slipped away before the counters could. None of this was mystical. It was layered discipline. Crowd the catch, flood the nail, live with kickouts, and change the look before she solves it. One defender didn't beat her, the picture did. And here's the twist, Seattle didn't invent this out of nowhere. They borrowed a plan the league has been stress testing on someone else for months. Which brings us to what the Caitlin Clark treatment really is, and why a single night of it can flip a narrative on its head. Call it what it is, pressure, on repeat. Pickups start earlier. Screens trigger 2 defenders, not 1. Help shows before the dribble, not after. Every catch is a conversation with contact. It starts at the logo. One defender faces you. A second shades your strong hand. The big is already inching up to choke the angle. Take the screen and you're blitzed. Reject it and a wing pinches the lane. Pull it out and the on-ball never loosens. There's no first move in flow. There's only decisions, fast ones. The point isn't to strip the ball. It's to strip the rhythm. No free rise into the pull-up. No easy pocket pass. No clean skip without a hand flashing in the line. You see the right read, a beat too late, and now it's gone. And the hits add up. Legal bumps that move you off the spot. Hands slicing at the gather. Forearms at the nail. A dozen small frictions that don't make the highlight mix, but drain a guard's battery. You don't notice the toll until the jumper comes up short. Here's why it works on most players. It shrinks your menu. You go from 5 options to 2, and both feel crowded. That's when turnovers creep in. That's when a scorer becomes a dribbler. That's when good shots turn into maybe shots. Clark's edge has been living in that storm and still bending outcomes. She'll shoot from 28 to make you widen the floor. She'll hit the short roll early so the big attacks 4-on-3. She'll throw the skip on the move so the closeout arrives late. And when the trap keeps coming, she sprints into relocation threes like they're layups. The coverage doesn't stop, she just makes the trade too expensive to keep paying. Seattle lifted that exact script and aimed it at Paige. Not for a possession, for a night. And the difference popped off the screen. When the second body appeared, the ball left her hands and rarely came back. The reads got safer, the shots got thinner, the gravity eased. This isn't slander, it's a status check. If you want to wear the crown, you don't just beat a defender, you tax an entire defense until it breaks its own rules. That's the treatment. Survive it and you become the problem every coach has to solve. Which is why the rookie context matters next. The milestones that fed the hype, the roster realities in Dallas, and how both shaped what we saw in Seattle. Let's be fair, the hype didn't come out of thin air. Paige stacked real firsts, fast, early season sprints to those fastest to 200 with the assists and boards marks. An all-star starter nod before most rookies figure out where their shots live. The poise, the footwork, the balance, none of that is imaginary. It's on film. But milestones don't control coverages. Matchups do. Dallas hasn't exactly scared defenses this year. When a team struggles, opponents get bold. They shrink the floor, dare secondary shooters, and live with kickouts. Help arrives earlier, closeouts arrive later on your teammates. That shifts the math. Your best creator sees tighter air. Everyone else sees longer looks they might not hit. It's not a Paige problem, it's a gravity problem. And comparisons get messy fast. Clark entered the league as a walking double team. The scouting report in neon, traps on the catch, blitzes on the screen, body after body daring her to pass before the play formed. Paige, for most nights, saw the normal rookie diet, respect, not obsession. Then Seattle flipped the switch and gave her the "we're not letting you be you" treatment. The result wasn't about talent, it was about comfort. Her favorite reads vanished, the easy mid-range dissolved. The game sped up without the ball moving faster. That's why the box score doesn't tell the real story. You can ride a hot hand in LA and still run into a cold map in Seattle. One night feeds a narrative, the next night feeds every scout in the league. So where do you separate moment from meaning? Right here, great players turn the help into a cost. If you're going to pull two, they'll cash it out. Short roll, skip swing, layup, do it again, and the defense starts arguing with itself. That's when the crown gets heavy for the other team. Paige has the touch to play that game. The next step is making defenses pay for the second body, not just surviving it, which is exactly what Seattle's film teaches, because the blueprint they used is the one everyone will copy until she rips it up. Scouting isn't magic. It's copy, paste, refine. First line of the page, crowd the catch. Don't let her receive in rhythm. Sit on the first route, top lock the entry, and force the catch 2 feet farther from her sweet spot. If she wants it, make her work through a body to get it. Second line, flood the nail. Any touch inside the arc triggers a shadow. The helper isn't gambling, she's waiting. As Paige turns her shoulders for that silky pull-up, a second defender is already stepping into the frame. No clean rise, no free footwork. Just a hand, a hip, a bump, and a late contest that makes perfect mechanics feel crowded. Third line, change the ball screen picture. Show, switch, peel switch. Next trip, icy the side pick and roll and keep her pinned to the sideline. Next trip, hard blitz and force the immediate escape pass. Never give her the same read twice. Rhythm dies when the answer key keeps moving. Fourth line, shrink the mid-post. She loves that free throw line down area, so choke it. Bring early digs from the strong side slot just a flash, then sprint back. Tag from the weak side low man so the drive meets a chest, not air. If she kicks, live with a tough catch and shoot from someone else. Fifth line, win the timing war. The goal isn't turnovers, it's late decisions. Stunt at the gather so the pocket looks open and then closes. Box out on the weak side so the skip arrives into a ready contest. Box out early, not high. 2 extra beats are a quiet 10-point swing. Sixth line, make her pass and don't let her retouch. Trap, rotate, and then face guard the return. If she gives it up, keep it that way. Great scorers survive the first double. They punish you on the second touch. Delete the second touch. Seventh line, foul profile, not stat sheet. You don't need whistles. You need bumps at the elbows, forearms at the lane line, hand checks that steer, not slap. It's legal pressure with cumulative effect. By the fourth quarter, legs tell the truth. That's the whole plan, and it travels. You can run it with different personnel, different coverages, different tempos. The constants are contact, variety, and denial of rhythm. So what breaks this? Counters that tax the help, early short roll finds, ghost screens to bait switches, lift cuts that punish nail help, quick rescreens that flip the angle, and relocations that turn the trap into a wide open 3 elsewhere. If she starts cashing out 2 defenders for automatic points, the defense has to back off. If not, the wall stays up. Here's the part coaches love. It's sustainable. You don't need a superstar stopper to make it work. You need 5 players committed to the same picture, possession after possession. And until someone makes the picture too expensive to keep printing, teams will keep running it. Which is why the comparison only matters in one place: who bends that pressure back consistently on bad shooting nights when the counters have to sing. That's where the side-by-side actually lives. Strip the noise and you're left with a simple lens: who bends pressure. Not who looks cleaner when the jumper hums. Not who posts the prettier split in a soft coverage week. Who turns 2 defenders into attacks the defense can't afford. Over and over, even on a 3 for 13 night. Clark has lived in that tax bracket for months. Traps show up early, bumpers meet her at the nail, screens turn into puzzles, and she still stretches the floor with deep pull-ups, flips the angle with quick rescreens, or skips the ball so the weak side cashes. The scoreboard listens to that kind of gravity. It's not just points, it's the way help drifts a step too far and never quite gets back. Paige to this point has carved teams that let her work on her clock, one-on-one space, balanced footwork, the mid-range canvas she paints so well. When Seattle replaced space with bodies, her reads got safer and her influence shrank. That's not a verdict on her ceiling, it's a snapshot of her pressure vocabulary right now. If you want a cleaner comparison than better worse, watch these tells the next time both are in a grind game. Retouch rate after giving it up versus a double. How often does she get it back within 2 passes to attack a tilted defense? Potential assists, not just assists. How many clean looks does she create? Even if teammates miss, hockey assists. Does her first move force a rotation that leads to the second pass and an easy 2? Short roll equity when the trap comes. Does the quick outlet to the big produce 4-on-3 decisions or a reset dribble? Free throw pressure. Do those bumps at the elbow turn into trips or just off-balance 2s? Turnover quality. Are the giveaways aggressive reads at the rim, livable, or late floaty passes punishable? On those scales, Clark's been banking wins because her counters arrive on time. Paige flashed answers in LA, Seattle demanded faster ones. That's the gap, not talent, timing. And remember the sample size truth, one miserable night doesn't write a career, but it does write a scouting report until you burn it. The next leap for Paige isn't another 40 piece, it's the ugly game where she still posts 6 dimes, 6 retouches, and a pile of open 3s for teammates because the second defender kept paying. That's how this comparison stays honest. Not with trophies from last week, but with habits that survive bad shooting and heavy weather. Which is why the final piece matters most. The counters that flip the cost, the tweaks that travel, and how she can turn that wall into a walkway. Starting now, the fix is simple to say and hard to live. It starts before the ball even arrives. If the defense wants to crowd the first catch, she has to change where that catch happens. Deeper into the corner, one trip at the slot the next. High above the arc after that. Same action, different entry points. Make the map wobble so the help can't camp. When the second defender shows, the answer can't be a panic escape. It has to be profit. That means hitting the outlet early, not late. So the short roll player catches on the move with numbers. If the big can dribble once and fire a quick pass to the dunker spot or the lifted shooter, the trap turns into free points. Do that twice in a quarter and the double shrinks on its own. She can also steal space with fakes instead of force. Go screens show like you're setting it, then slip out before contact, pull switches without the wear and tear. A defense that wants to body you suddenly has to talk, and talking under pressure is where mistakes live. Follow that with a quick rescreen on the other side and the angle flips. The nail help is now staring at the wrong shoulder. Off the ball, the job is to keep the strings tight. Nail help loves standing still, so don't give it stillness. Lift from the corner as the drive starts. Cut through the paint right as the trap forms. Relocate to the opposite slot while the ball's in the air. If she gives it up, she can't disappear. She needs the second touch in a tilted defense. That's where easy shots grow. Catch and shoot 3s, one dribble pull-ups, layups against a late rotation. There's a tempo trick here too. The trap wants pauses. She needs pace. Hit the screen earlier in the clock, get downhill before the help loads, and force switches while the big is still backpedaling. Even one possession where the defense isn't set changes the tone of the quarter. Play fast to buy yourself simple reads, then slow down once the floor is bent. And then there's the whistle. Not every bump draws one, but pressure creates chances. Get a shoulder into the chest at the elbow, sell the verticality on the rise. Attack the top foot so the defender's first step becomes a grab. 2 trips to the line at the right time, break the cadence, and refill the legs. Free throws aren't just points, they're a pace reset. If you're tracking at home, you'll know the shift is real when a bad shooting night still looks useful. 5 or 6 clean setups for teammates, a handful of retouches after giving it up, 1 or 2 quick strikes in early offense that arrive before the trap. A couple of fouls drawn on the same primary defender. That's the quiet stat line of someone who turned pressure into cost. Why does this matter beyond one player? Because hype burns fast and scouting lives longer. The league advances by forcing its best guards to solve harder puzzles, and the best guards drag the rest of the game forward by solving them. When a star figures out how to cash out doubles, every teammate eats, arenas get louder, and the schedule in late August starts to feel like spring. That's how moments turn into momentum. Paige has the touch, the balance, and the footwork. The next layer is timing. The counter arriving a beat sooner, the pass hitting the roll a yard earlier, the relocation happening while the defense is still blinking. And once those habits stick, the wall won't vanish, it just won't hold. That's the path from highlight heater to matchup problem. It's not about being perfect on Wednesday. It's about being inevitable on Friday. when the film has made the rounds and the crowd is waiting to see if the spell is broken for good. Solve that, and the story changes tone. Quietly at first, then all at once. And that's where we'll leave the board set. One blueprint, one checklist, and one choice. Turn the pressure into points or let it write the narrative for you. Strip away the noise and the week makes sense. One game proved how breathtaking Paige can be when the floor tilts in her favor. The next proved how ruthless the league is about stealing that tilt back. That isn't a contradiction, it's the curriculum. Greatness doesn't pass because you ace an open book test. It passes when you show up on short rest, the questions get harder, and you still find the extra line that isn't printed anywhere. Seattle didn't solve Paige. They assigned the next chapter. The fix isn't a slogan, it's 100 small reps. Earlier outlets, smarter rescreens, second touches that arrive before the defense can breathe. When those habits harden, the double team turns from a wall into a gift. That's when the math flips and the myth becomes a matchup. And that's the real story here. Less about crowning anyone, more about what lasts when the lights get hot and the spacing shrinks. Clark has lived there long enough to tax every scheme. Paige just got the invoice. Whether she turns it into profit is the part worth watching, because the league gets better every time a star learns to make pressure pay. So keep your eyes on the quiet numbers on the ugly nights, retouches, hockey assists, early offense before the trap arrives. If those climb, the narrative won't shout, it'll shift. Not with a headline, but with a defense that suddenly backs up half a step because it's tired of giving up layups. Hype is loud, adjustments are permanent. And in this league, the truth always shows up on the second touch.